The Visegrad School is not established in a vacuum. On the contrary, we are a proud 19th member of the Council's network of schools of political studies, and in that way our school will benefit from the vast knowledge and know-how of the other schools. At the same time, I must say, we want to enrich the network with a distinctive identity that we bring, a Central European one. We bring with us the experience of our country's successful transformation, economical and political. We bring a decade-long EU membership experience. We also bring a belief in a strong and united Europe built on shared values and principles. Finally, we bring a common historical and cultural heritage. As described by Milan Kundera in his 1984 essay, The Tragedy of Central Europe longed to be a condensed version of Europe, made up of nations conceived according to one single rule, the greatest variety within the smallest space. To conclude, I would like to take the chance to once again thank the Council of Europe and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Poland, who is hosting us today in this beautiful building, for taking on the initiative, for supporting us and working together to make the school happen. In a recent message on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the Moscow School is the oldest school of the network, you, Mr. Secretary General, said, "Europe needs a strong democracy and a healthier political culture. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of common work to foster responsible and capable leadership who is accountable to their citizen. Leaders who are accountable to their citizen." Let me just say today that we are thrilled and privileged that the Visegrad School of Political Studies can join the Council of Europe in this effort to foster this new generation of leaders here in Europe, but also beyond. Thank you.
Foreign Minister Sikorski, it's a great honor to be with you today, to be with such a forceful and great European political leader. Dear ambassadors, thank you for coming here, and indeed the students, welcome. I would start by saying that it's a great pleasure for me to be at the opening ceremony of this school, and would like to thank Dr. Pisarska, who took the initiative and is the first director of the school. It is indeed a very good development for the Council of Europe. The School of Political Studies are a priority for the Council of Europe and for me personally. You can't imagine how much energy it gives me to meet all these young people coming from all these countries in Europe when they meet in the past at the Summer University in Strasbourg and now at the World Forum for Democracy. To meet all these young people gives me a lot of energy and hope for Europe in order to safeguard that we have a society built on checks and balances, democratic values, and human rights. That's why we have these schools, in order to safeguard that Europe will continue to be built on the European Convention on Human Rights. And it happened because of the awful experiences we had from the two wars that were fought in Europe. And Winston Churchill said it, that the new Europe had to be built on human rights and rule of law, because where there is no rule of law, tyranny starts.
It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you, Secretary General, and everybody to the Visegrad School of Political Studies. Congratulations to the European Academy of Diplomacy and the Council of Europe on this excellent initiative. I see many future leaders of Europe in this room, but the leaders of today must confront the challenges of tomorrow. So we live, as the Chinese curse has it in interesting times. But I'm very glad that we have institutions such as Council of Europe to anchor us in the values that the founders of the Council of Europe had in mind, namely democracy, rule of law, and responsible government. Looking back at all these years, it's clear that the Visegrad group, not just Poland, have had a successful transformation. We needed to set up democracy and rule of law practically from scratch, as well as to reinvent our economies. We proved that we are stable, well-developed countries with open societies that actively participate in public life. The V4 countries have all been enthusiastic participants in the work of the Council of Europe, and we also support the reform of the institutions so that it can continue to be effective. We think we are a better example for those in the south of Europe or east of Europe to follow, because the more established, the larger democracies are a more difficult example to follow. We are a living proof that it can be done. We have the technology and we have the people who are able to say with authority, if we could do it, so can you, whether it's in the Eastern Partnership countries or in the Union for Mediterranean area. The Council of Europe's Schools of Political Studies, we think, will be a crucial building block in this process. The Visegrad School, inaugurated here today, will, I hope, play a central role in the education of young democratic leaders from the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, and Poland. The school will also provide them with important connections with their counterparts in the Eastern Partnership countries. By establishing a new quality of dialogue among a new generation of leaders, I'm convinced that it will contribute to the construction of a pan-European area of freedom, participatory democracy, and respect for human rights. I wish you every success in this worthy venture.
I think that the most important thing for those who want to be involved in politics, it is sometimes forgotten and underestimated, because we are living in a time of where everybody wants to follow their own wishes and interests, which is of course good, but when you enter politics, you also have to serve something bigger than yourself. I think that is important to keep in mind.
What does it mean, new generations of leaders? What are we expecting more from these new leaders than we expect, or than what was expected from the current, from you, gentlemen? What are the challenges that they have to face?
By the time you become leaders, the challenges will be different, so it's difficult to predict. I will not try to predict what you will face, but to perhaps complement the answer to the previous question. As far as I'm concerned, the key to success are three. Number one, learn languages, really important. Number two, try to be where the action is. And three, I have found, very important to pick enemies in politics.